Your heartbreak is good for the economy. Your loneliness keeps the economy vibrant. Have you ever noticed how everything that breaks us somehow feeds the world around us? Every heartbreak sparks a transaction. Every argument leaves a trail of receipts. Every time two people fall apart, a part of the economy quietly grows stronger. It's strange, isn't it? We think of love and family as emotional things, matters of the heart, of connection. But in the background, they're also economic forces. When two people share a home, they share their expenses, their time, their dreams, and their burdens. But when they separate, the world around them starts to move. 2 apartments, 2 electricity bills, 2 insurance plans, maybe a lawyer, maybe therapy, maybe a bottle of wine to numb the silence. Suddenly, what was once love becomes cash flow. The economy wins, but the people lose. This is the paradox of our modern world. The idea that what destroys us personally can strengthen us economically. It's as if the system we live in quietly thrives on our instability, our loneliness, our endless search for something to fill the emptiness. See, when two people are in love, when they share a home, cook together, and build something lasting, they're efficient. They don't need 2 microwaves. They don't need 2 Netflix accounts. They don't need 2 of everything. They live simply. They save. They depend less on the outside world. But from the economy's perspective, that's bad business. Stability doesn't circulate money. Peace doesn't drive consumption. Love doesn't need much, but loneliness does. And so, the modern economy has found subtle ways to make sure we're never too satisfied for too long. Dating apps that keep us swiping instead of committing. Social media that shows us everything we don't have. Work cultures that reward independence over intimacy. And an entire industry that profits when people walk away instead of working it out. Now, none of this is to say that relationships shouldn't end. Sometimes they need to. But it's worth asking, what kind of world have we built when even heartbreak has become a market? Because that's exactly what's happening. Breakups don't just end love stories. They start new economic chains. 2 people buying twice as much of everything they once shared. Lawyers making a living off division. Therapists treating the aftermath of what was once connection. And companies marketing self-care products to those trying to heal. Heartbreak has a supply chain. And every time a relationship falls apart, another corner of the economy gets a small boost. But behind all that growth is something much quieter and much sadder. 2 people who once built something together now building lives apart, often working harder to maintain a lifestyle that once came easily through shared effort. The emotional exhaustion becomes financial exhaustion. The same system that encourages us to be self-sufficient now feeds on our solitude. The truth is, it's cheaper to be together, not just emotionally, but economically. When one person provides and another nurtures, or when both contribute in balance, life becomes manageable. The home becomes a small economy of its own, built on trust, time, and shared responsibility. But when that home breaks apart, all that efficiency is lost. And the larger economy, the one outside, takes over. That's why, in most developed countries, single people spend significantly more than those in stable relationships. They pay more for housing, food, insurance, and even emotional comfort. Because when you don't have someone to share your life with, you end up renting companionship, in one form or another. You pay for it through convenience, through comfort, through experiences that fill the silence. You eat out more. You travel more. You shop more. Not because you're greedy, but because the world around you is designed to make you feel like you're missing something, and that money can fill the void. That's the great irony of the modern economy. It doesn't need us to be happy. It just needs us to keep wanting. When you step back and look at it, it's almost poetic how the global economy in many ways mirrors the human heart. Always in motion, always hungry, always consuming to survive. But while the economy grows by taking, people grow by giving. And that's why the two will always be in quiet conflict. We live in a world where the health of a nation's GDP depends on the instability of its people. Divorce rates, mental health crises, addictions, and overwork, all of these feed industries. And yet, when you ask the average person how they're doing, they'll often say, just surviving. We've confused survival with progress. And in doing so, we've built a world that profits from our pain. But maybe it's time we start asking different questions. If the economy grows every time we fall apart, what does that say about the system we've built? What does it say about how we measure success when human suffering becomes a source of national pride? Maybe the real question isn't how to grow the economy, but how to grow the person. Because if we keep feeding a system that thrives on our loneliness, we'll wake up one day surrounded by noise, yet completely alone. Loneliness is expensive. It's one of the few things that drains your soul and your savings at the same time. Because when you're alone, truly alone, you begin to fill your life with substitutes. And substitutes always cost more. The economy knows this. In fact, it's built around it. Think about it. The rise of single-person households has been one of the most profitable shifts in modern history. Developers build smaller apartments at higher prices per square meter. Grocery stores sell individual portions for twice the cost. Streaming services charge every person separately. Furniture companies market solo comfort. Even travel agencies now promote solo adventures as acts of empowerment. What used to be community is now commerce. What used to be shared is now sold. And yet, despite all this progress, the average person is lonelier than ever. More anxious, more restless, more in need of validation. We're surrounded by connection, yet starving for closeness. That's because loneliness isn't the absence of people. It's the absence of purpose. It's the quiet gap between who we are and who we wish someone could see. And when that gap widens, we try to fill it with things we can buy. We buy comfort food instead of sharing a meal. We buy gym memberships instead of walking with friends. We scroll through dating apps, swiping endlessly, not for love, but for proof that someone somewhere might still choose us. The truth is, loneliness has become an economy of its own. It has markets, industries, and entire digital ecosystems feeding on human emptiness. Dating apps, cosmetic brands, self-help courses, therapy subscriptions, wellness retreats, all designed to make us feel like we're healing, when in reality, we're just consuming our way through our pain. It's not that these things are wrong. Many help. Some truly heal. But collectively, they reflect a system that no longer knows how to give without taking. In a healthy society, love, friendship, and family are the safety nets that keep people stable. In ours, stability itself has become a product. You can buy the illusion of peace through candles, planners, crystals, or yoga retreats. You can buy companionship through dating apps, OnlyFans, or virtual relationships. You can even buy belonging through social media, where likes replace love and followers replace family. Every part of human connection has been converted into currency. And yet, no amount of spending can replace the simple comfort of being understood by another person. Because that's something no economy can manufacture. If you look closer, you'll see that loneliness also shapes how we work. The modern worker is isolated by design, plugged in, efficient, but emotionally disconnected. We've replaced community with productivity, and in doing so, we've made exhaustion the new status symbol. We wear busyness like a badge, not realizing it's just another form of loneliness. And loneliness loves distraction. It feeds on noise, on motion, on anything that keeps us from sitting still long enough to feel. So we scroll, we shop, we drink, we binge, anything to avoid the silence. And in that silence lies the one truth the economy doesn't want us to face. That we are meant to need each other. Needing others isn't weakness, it's human nature. But the world today tells us the opposite. It says independence is strength. It tells us we don't need anyone, that we can do it all ourselves. And that's the perfect message for a consumer-driven system. Because the more independent we believe we are, the more we have to buy. The myth of self-sufficiency keeps the wheels turning. It convinces you that every need can be met with a purchase, that every emotion can be managed with a subscription or a pill, that every void can be filled with a product. But the truth is, the only real cure for loneliness is love, and love doesn't scale. It can't be industrialized, digitized, or turned into a recurring payment plan. It's inefficient by economic standards. It takes time, patience, forgiveness, and sacrifice. Qualities that don't translate well into profit. And so, the economy quietly teaches us to avoid the slow, uncomfortable parts of connection, the very parts that make it real. Instead, it offers instant gratification, swipe, click, buy, repeat. And the more we indulge in it, the more disconnected we become. It's a cycle. Loneliness drives consumption, and consumption deepens loneliness. We become both the buyer and the product. And the system keeps feeding, as long as we keep feeling empty. But here's the thing, you can't fix loneliness with more noise. You fix it with presence. You fix it by reaching out, by showing up, by choosing connection over convenience. Because the truth is, being known deeply by even one person is more valuable than being seen by 1,000. And no economy in the world can replace that. The irony is painful but real. The lonelier we become, the richer the world gets. Our pain funds the profits of the powerful. Our disconnection keeps industries alive. And yet, all the economy ever needed to slow down, even slightly, is a world where people are whole. A world where love lasts, where families heal, where meaning replaces materialism. But until that world exists, the system will keep whispering. Buy more. Feel better. You deserve it. And we'll keep obeying, because no one told us that healing costs less than coping. They told us we were free. Free to do what we want, live how we please, love who we choose, and define our own truths. And for a moment, it felt like victory. We broke away from the rigidness of the past, from traditions that often hurt more than they healed. But somewhere between liberation and indulgence, freedom lost its meaning and became another product for sale. Because freedom, when detached from discipline, doesn't lead to peace, it leads to markets. You see it everywhere. What used to be intimacy is now an industry. What used to be privacy is now a platform. Desire, once sacred and shared, is now digitized, streamed, sold, and subscribed to. OnlyFans, sugar dating, online companionship, each one sold as empowerment. Each one marketed as liberation from shame. And yet, behind every glowing screen, you'll find the same emptiness. People paying for connection, people selling attention, both confusing transaction for affection. Every moral collapse opens a new industry. Every fading virtue births a new market. Greed becomes entrepreneurship. Lust becomes content creation. Addiction becomes therapy. And loneliness becomes lifestyle. Look at the night economy, the clubs, the liquor brands, the endless neon promises of escape. Every weekend, cities pulse with people trying to forget that they feel alone. Alcohol, music, lights, it's all ritual now. A ceremony of distraction that ends not in joy, but in fatigue. And on Monday morning, the economy thanks them. The hangover needs hydration, food delivery, a new outfit for a new week. And the cycle spins again. Even our vices are optimized. The weed dispensary has become the pharmacy of numbness. The club, the cathedral of self-expression. Every rebellion is a brand. Every pleasure a product. And yet, we call it freedom. War, too, has its place in this economy of desire and decay. Because conflict revives production. It fuels manufacturing, innovation, defense contracts. It moves money, hires workers, lifts GDPs, while destroying everything else that truly matters. Somehow, human suffering always finds a way to pay dividends. And perhaps the cruelest irony of all is health itself. Wellness, that sacred word, is now a luxury good. Gyms, supplements, therapy apps, mindfulness courses, all monetized under the promise of taking care of yourself. But what if the system made us sick in the first place? What if self-care is just a way to heal from the very world that profits from our exhaustion? We live in a world that wants us tired enough to spend, anxious enough to seek, lonely enough to scroll, insecure enough to buy. And yet, all the while, it tells us we're free. Free to choose our poison. Free to curate our lives into highlight reels. Free to medicate our emptiness with anything that keeps the economy alive. The machinery of freedom runs on the oil of excess. It promises empowerment, but delivers dependence. Dependence on validation, stimulation, consumption. And so the modern citizen, proud, liberated, self-made, becomes the perfect economic unit, always wanting, never fulfilled. We've mistaken motion for meaning, choice for peace. And in that confusion, we've built a society that thrives on moral erosion while calling it cultural evolution. The system doesn't care what we believe, only that we keep spending to prove it. Maybe freedom wasn't meant to look like this. Maybe it wasn't meant to be loud, chaotic, and endless. Maybe real freedom is the quiet ability to want less and still feel whole. We live in an age where decay is disguised as progress, where indulgence is branded as self-care and self-destruction is marketed as freedom, where morality isn't just optional, it's unprofitable. War, for example, is the ultimate stimulus package. When the bombs drop, factories come alive. Steel mills hum, oil flows, innovation surges. Even death becomes an industry: reconstruction, rehabilitation, news coverage, defense spending. Every tragedy creates a job. And somewhere in a boardroom, someone celebrates the numbers, never the lives. But the immoral economy doesn't always roar like war. Sometimes it whispers, through addiction, lust, and vanity. It sells temporary relief from permanent emptiness. Cigarettes, alcohol, drugs, entertainment, all engineered to soothe the soul while quietly enslaving it. And we call it lifestyle. Even medicine, the thing meant to heal us, has learned to profit from perpetual illness. The system doesn't benefit when you're cured. It benefits when you're dependent. And so pills are prescribed for sleep, for stress, for sadness, not to restore balance, but to maintain consumption. The cure is bad economics. Maintenance is sustainable revenue. Look deeper, and you'll see the same formula repeated everywhere. Take a human flaw, amplify it, normalize it, then sell the solution. Loneliness becomes dating apps. Insecurity becomes beauty products. Despair becomes motivational courses. Pride becomes luxury. Every wound creates a market. And every healing journey begins with a checkout button. Morality, real morality, disrupts this flow. It limits desire. It demands self-control. It teaches gratitude, moderation, restraint, all the things that stop people from endlessly consuming. And so, the system quietly works to erode it, to make vice fashionable and virtue outdated. Because self-mastery isn't profitable, but self-indulgence is. The moral collapse isn't accidental, it's engineered. Through advertising that glorifies excess. Through media that celebrates chaos as authenticity. Through influencers who sell rebellion disguised as empowerment. The culture rewards indulgence because indulgence pays. And the more we lose touch with discipline, family, faith, or any internal compass, the more the external world takes over. Because where morality fades, regulation grows. Where self-control dies, surveillance replaces it. We give away our freedom in exchange for pleasure, and the system thanks us for our cooperation. Even the language has been repackaged. Sin became self-expression. Lust became liberation. Greed became ambition. Envy became motivation. The world rebranded vice into virtue, and we applauded it because it sounded empowering. But beneath the slogans, the numbers tell the truth. Depression rates soar. Addiction spreads. Relationships crumble. Families fracture. And the markets, they celebrate. Because every broken person keeps the machine running. It's not that capitalism is evil. It's that it has no conscience. It will sell you whatever you're willing to buy. Even your own destruction, neatly packaged as happiness. And so we arrive here, a generation that calls emptiness freedom. That mistakes pleasure for peace. And consumption for connection. But deep down, we all sense the lie. We know there's something sacred missing, something we can't quite name, but we feel in the silence between notifications. That quiet ache when the night ends, and the noise fades, and we're left alone with the truth. That no amount of money can fix what moral decay has broken. So yes, the economy profits from broken hearts. It profits from loneliness, separation, and the endless quest to fill emotional voids with material things. But understanding that isn't meant to make you bitter. It's meant to make you aware. Because awareness is the first form of power. Once you see that heartbreak fuels the machine, you can stop feeding it. You can choose connection over consumption. Simplicity over status. Stability over spectacle. And when enough people do that, something profound happens. The economy slows down, but humanity speeds up. Maybe that's what real progress looks like. Not in charts or profit margins, but in hearts that no longer need to buy what they already have within reach. I'm sure you are questioning if I'm projecting my thoughts a little bit too hard. Maybe it's the realization I just got through repeated experiences. And just like you, I'm learning to do right by me.